And welcome back. School board elections are the hardest campaigns to cover since they don't gather the same media attention as the higher profile county council races, despite the fact the importance of the Montgomery County public school system has on our community, not to mention the budget of Montgomery County. Nancy, there are three positions up for elections. This is what's considered a nonpartisan ballot, as you know. In the at-large race, incumbent Lynn Harris has five challengers. Given the controversy the past few years, does Lynn Harris deserve another term in office?
Well, I think the issue for voters is who is Lynn Harris and who are the other candidates. These folks are not known, perhaps within the PTA community, but the voters who are looking at this list may well take a pass on a lot of these choices if they don't know who the candidates are. And that's true of the whole collection of school board candidates. Or they'll just pick something, which does happen. I think the school board races are a real roll of the dice for those folks running and for the voters, because there's very little information. The one thing that's out there is the Apple ballot. A lot of people bring that into the polls with them. And that may be determinative this year more than anything as to who makes it to the general election.
But we've really had a lot of controversy over the last few years with the school board. So are incumbents going to do better because of that, or are they just people going to see incumbent and vote against them, do you think?
Yeah, well, I would say if you know who the incumbent is, that there are a fair number of people who say, I'm not voting for anybody on any incumbent on the Board of Ed. I've heard that from folks, but I don't know that that reflects the general view because I'm not sure how much people pay attention to exactly who those people may be. We'll see.
And that's something, isn't it? Stacey, what are your thoughts on the at-large race? And then I want to talk about the District 2 race.
Well, I think that one of the most important things to note about this race is that those incumbents are not being supported by the teachers' unions. What does that tell you? Okay, so that opens it up to a more competitive race. And the Blue Book, actually, the Blue Book ballot that's being circulated has picked up a lot of support, it appears. And so they have the Blue Book, UARE is the organization that supports that. They are at the at-large race supporting Fitzgerald Mofor. So he's a former teacher, he's a paralegal, he seems to have some good credentials, very motivated. It'll be interesting to see how this pans out.
Well, let's talk about now. Let's talk about. I'm sorry.
Can I just comment on that? One thing about the teachers union, and I used to get in trouble for saying anything back when I was in politics. But the teachers union, remember, we're talking about a huge budget. Teachers union wants everything they could possibly get. And that's why they don't support certain candidates. They don't support people who say no, or let's talk about it. So there are two sides to that story. And so it's maybe most people don't know that or don't think about that, but it is relevant to the ultimate decisions that the Board of Ed ends up making. And, the role of the union is huge. And they have the money to campaign. Unlike anybody else.
Yeah. So, Stacey, I'm going back to you on the District 2 race, where Rebecca Somdrowski is being challenged by four challengers. Tell us a little bit about that race, and then let's talk about District 4.
Well, I think that it's very competitive right now between Brenda Diaz and Ricky Moy. If I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, I'm sorry if I'm not. But again, you have a situation there where the incumbent is not being endorsed. To your point earlier, I'd like to say that while the school board elections and races might generally be very low key, this past year in particular, it has been very high profile. We've had a lot of protests going on. At the school board, there were 3 or 4 of them this past year that did get media coverage. We just had the acting superintendent had to testify before Congress yesterday with regard to anti-Semitism in Montgomery County, along with school superintendents from Berkeley and New York City. What does that tell you about the viewpoint of Montgomery County in the scheme of things, that they're promoting anti-Semitism, it seems, and so they're being called before Congress on this? This is getting a lot of attention, and we have a large number of Jewish voters that send their kids to public schools here in Montgomery County. It's going to be very interesting to see.
Very valid point, Stacey. But I want, before we run out of time, I want to talk about the District 4 race, where incumbent Sherba Evans has 2 challengers, including noted activist Bethany Mandel. What can you tell us about this race, Nancy?
I can't tell you anything. I think, again, has the word gotten out to voters across the county? Remember, this is the only ballot that unaffiliated voters can vote on. We'll see what they say. See if they, although the turnout from that group has not been very large so far. We'll see what they say.
Let me ask you a technical question. It's the top 2 vote getters in each district that advance to November, correct?
I think so.
Okay, Stacey.
There'll be several candidates on the ballot for each position.
Stacey, tell us about District 4.
So in District 4, Bethany Mandel is probably the biggest standout there right now because she's got a high profile to begin with, and she was one of the people that actually was called to testify before Congress yesterday. So her profile continues to expand. She's very adamant about, what the kids are being taught, what she feels is improper, and is one of the leading voices for parents and groups like Moms for Liberty that feel the same way, that they have a problem with some of the material that their children, young children in particular, I should say, are being exposed to in the Montgomery County public school system. They want to be able to opt their children out of certain curricula, and it's been a battle for them ever since it's come to light what the children are being taught.
Well, there have been other candidates that have professed the same sentiments, and they haven't done well. So we're going to have to wait and see how this election shakes out.